Priska Amadi, a lady of principles, raised by her aunt in Lagos, she had always been taught the value of integrity and hard work. She pursued her education with zeal, graduating top of her class in accounting from the University of Lagos. Now, at 28, she had secured a reputable position at one of the leading firms in the city. Her dedication to her job was unwavering, but despite her professional success, there was an undeniable void in her personal life. Frederick Okoro, on the other hand, had a more turbulent past. Growing up in Abuja, he had been a rebellious teenager, often finding himself in trouble. But with time, Frederick had matured. He moved to Lagos to escape his past and start anew, dedicating himself to his passion for art. Now, a well respected artist, his exhibitions attracted art lovers from across the country. Yet, despite his success, he couldn't shake off the shadows of his past mistakes. Frederick and Priska's paths crossed on a warm Sunday afternoon at an art gallery in Victoria Island. Priska had always loved art and often visited galleries to unwind. That day, she was captivated by a painting of a solitary tree. The plague reads, Solitude by Frederick Okoro. As she stood there, lost in the emotions the painting evoked, Frederick approached her. You seem to like it, he said. Priska turned to find a tall, handsome man standing beside her. It's beautiful, she replied. Frederick smiled. Thank you. It's one of my favorites too. I'm Frederick, he finally said, extending his hands of friendship. Priska smiled, shaking his hands. Frederick, you say? She said. The painting says, Solitude by Mr. Okoro. Is this your painting? Frederick smiled, introducing himself properly to her as Frederick Okoro, the CEO of Everything Arts. She was amazed and couldn't stop talking about her love for arts. They spent the rest of the afternoon walking through the gallery discussing arts and life. A week after, Frederick and Priska ran into each other in a shopping mall. Frederick recognized her at first sight, but Priska tried to remember where she had met him. Frederick reminded her of where they first met and she was really glad to see him. They exchanged pleasantries and contacts. After days of speaking to each other on the phone, Frederick gathered the courage to ask Priska out on a proper date. They met at a cozy restaurant by the beach. Priska appeared in an elegant dress, looking stunning while Frederick dressed smartly. During dinner, they shared stories about their childhood, dreams, and aspirations. Frederick found himself enchanted by Priska's unwavering principles and dedication, while Priska was captivated by Frederick's artistic soul and the way he saw the world. As their friendship blossomed, Frederick worked hard to keep his past buried. He didn't want anything to taint the beautiful connection they were building. Every moment spent with Priska felt like a gift, and he was determined to protect their friendship. Their days were filled with laughter, adventures, and deep conversations. Frederick introduced Priska to the world of art in a way she had never experienced before. They visited galleries, attended exhibitions, and even spent quiet evening in Frederick's studio. One evening, as they strolled along Lekki Beach, Priska looked up at Frederick and said, I feel like I've known you forever. It's strange but comforting. Frederick smiled. I feel the same, Priska. You've brought light into my life that I didn't know I needed. I care a lot about you, Priska. I love you so much. I've always wanted to tell you this, Priska, but I was scared. I thought it was too early. Priska smiled and confessed her love for him. They both were happy and started a relationship, and their joy knew no bound. Frederick's past mistake lurked in the back of his mind, casting shadows over their happiness. He often found himself on the verge of confessing, but each time, the fear of losing Priska kept him silent. Their relationship deepened, filled with moments of pure happiness. They celebrated birthdays, attended family gatherings, and supported each other's dreams. Priska was Frederick's muse, inspiring some of his best work, while Frederick's unwavering belief in Priska pushed her to new heights in her career. But as months passed, Frederick's past began to catch up with him. He started receiving messages from his old acquaintances, and rumors about his past started to circulate. Frederick's past was a dark tapestry, woven with reckless decisions and painful consequences. During his teenage years in Abuja, He had fallen in with a rough crowd. What began as minor mischief soon escalated into serious trouble. Frederick had been involved in series of burglaries, and although he never directly hurt anyone, the fear and distress it caused were significant. As he matured, he realized the gravity of his actions. He was arrested and spent several months in juvenile detention. These experiences was a turning point for him. Determined to leave the past behind, Frederick dedicated himself to his art, hoping to channel his pains and regrets into something beautiful. Years passed, and Frederick moved to Lagos, distancing himself from the past. He rebuilt his life, gaining respect and recognition in the art community. However, the internet never forgets, and the record of his criminal activities were still accessible to anyone who looked deep enough. Priska had always been a diligent and curious person. One evening, as she was browsing the internet, she came across an old article detailing series of burglaries in Abuja. The article mentioned Frederick by name, along with his subsequent arrests and the time in juvenile detention. Shocked, Priska felt her world tilt. How could the man she loved have such a terrible past? The next day, she confronted Frederick, the article still fresh in her mind. Frederick, I need to ask you a question, she began, her voice trembling. Frederick's heart skipped, pondering what could be the question. What is it, Priska? He asked. She handed him her phone, the article displayed on the screen. Is it true or not? She asked. Frederick's face paled as he read the article. He looked up to Priska, guilt and regret in his eyes. Yes, it's true, he admitted. I was young and stupid, Priska. I got involved with the wrong people and made terrible choices. Priska felt betrayed. Why didn't you tell me about it? We've shared everything, Frederick. I thought I knew you. I was scared, Priska, Frederick replied, his voice cracking. I didn't want my past to ruin what we have together. I've changed. I've worked so hard to become a better person. Please, you need to believe me. Priska took a deep breath, trying to process the whole information. It's not just about your past, Frederick. It's about trust. You should have told me about this. Frederick nodded. His eyes filled with tears. I know, Priska, and I'm really sorry about it. I was wrong to hide it from you, but please, do not let this be the end of the beautiful thing we share. Priska's heart was heavy, with conflicting emotions. I need time to process this. It's a whole lot to take in. She walked out of him. Over the next few days, Priska wrestled with her feelings. She loved Frederick deeply, but her principles and sense of integrity made it hard to reconcile his past with the man she thought she knew. She sought advice from her closest friend and family, but the decisions ultimately lay with her. Finally, Priska decided to meet with Frederick at their favorite cafe. As she sat with him, she could see the anxiety in his eyes. I've thought about everything, Frederick. Inasmuch as it hurts, I don't think I can move past this. Your past is something I can't ignore, and the fact that you hid it from me breaks my trust. Frederick's heart shattered. Priska, please, he pleaded. But she shook her head. I'm sorry, Frederick. I love you, yes, I know that. But I can't handle all this. Please, don't make this more difficult for us. With those words, they parted ways. Frederick was left with a deep sense of regret and pains, while Priska couldn't deny the emptiness that filled her hearts. The days following their breakup were a blur of emotions for both of them. Each were left with their own pains and sense of loss. Despite their best efforts to move on, the memories of their love continued to haunt them. For Priska, life became a series of mechanical routine. She threw herself into her work at accounting firm, taking additional projects and responsibilities to fill the void. Her colleagues noticed the increasing dedication, but only her closest friend knew the truth behind the sudden burst of productivity. I'm fine, she would always insist whenever Amaka asked how she was doing, but Amaka could see the sadness in her eyes. Priska, you can't keep bottling this up. You need to talk about it, or it's going to keep eating you up. Priska began. I don't know how to move past it, Amaka. I love him so much, but how can I trust someone who hid such a big part of his life from me? Amaka nodded. I understand you, Priska. It's okay to feel hurt, but don't let the pains define you. Take your time. Don't close yourself off completely. If he says he has changed, then believe him and fight for the love you both share. Meanwhile, Frederick was struggling to come to terms with the consequences of his actions. The studio that has once been his sanctuary now felt like prison, filled with reminders of Priska. His paintings, once vibrant and full of life, now seemed dull and lifeless. He tried to distract himself by working on new projects, but his heart wasn't in it. The art community, unaware of his personal turmoil, continued to celebrate his work, but Frederick felt like a fraud. The only solace he found was with his old friend Tunde, who had known him since his troubled teenage years. You need to give her time, Frederick, Tunde advised him one evening. She's hurting, but if she loves you, she will find a way to forgive you. Frederick nodded, though his heart remained heavy. I just wish I could turn back the hands of time to be a better person. I wish I had told her everything from the onset. Tunde replied, we can't change the past, but we can learn from it. Focus on being the best version of yourself as you're doing. That's all you need, Frederick. As months passed, both Frederick and Priska began to slowly rebuild their lives. Priska, encouraged by Amaka, started attending therapy sessions to process her feelings. The sessions helped her confront her emotions, and gradually she began to find semblance of peace. Frederick, inspired by Tunde's word, decided to volunteer at the local youth center, using his art to help troubled teenagers express themselves. It was his way of atoning for his past mistakes and giving back to the community. Through their new experiences, Priska and Frederick grew as individuals. Priska found herself becoming more open and understanding, while Frederick rediscovered his passion for art and helping others. However, fate had a way of intertwining their lives once more. One evening, Priska was working late at the office. As she stepped out, the sky darkened and a heavy rain began to fall. Priska realized that she had forgotten her umbrella. She hurried to the nearest bus station, but the rain was relentless, soaking her to her bones. Just as she was beginning to feel the onset of her apogenic pruritus, a familiar voice called out her name. Priska! She turned to see it was Frederick running towards her, holding an umbrella. What are you doing here? She asked, surprised. I was at the art gallery nearby, he explained. Come on, let me take you home. Priska hesitated, but the itching on her skin was becoming unbearable. She nodded, allowing Frederick to shield her with the umbrella. As they walked to his car, the memories of the past flooded back, mingling with their present. In the car, Frederick glanced at her, noticing her discomfort. Are you okay? He asked, concerned. Priska nodded, though her skin felt like it was on fire. I have a condition, aquagenic pruritus. Water makes my skin itch uncontrollably. Frederick's heart ached at the thought of her suffering. I'm so sorry, Priska, I didn't know. They drove in silence, the rain pounding against his car windows. When they finally reached her apartment, Frederick insisted on walking her to her door. As they stood at her doorstep, Priska turned to him, his eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and unresolved feelings. Thank you, Frederick, she said. Thank you for everything. Frederick nodded. Priska, I've missed you so much. Every single day I think about you. I know I messed up, but I've been working to become a better person. I just want you to know that. Priska felt a lump in her throat. Despite everything, she couldn't deny the fact that she still loves him so much. But her reply was, Good night, Frederick. Frederick repeated his words again. I miss you, Priska. And at this point, Priska could no longer hide it. She had to reply, I've missed you too, Frederick. But it's not easy for me. I know, he replied. Maybe we could take it one step at a time. No pressure. Just see how things go. Priska nodded. One step at a time then. As Frederick left, Priska stood at the door, a flicker of hope igniting in her heart. Perhaps, just perhaps, fate had given them another chance. Priska and Frederick's decision to take things one step at a time brought optimism into their lives. Their initial encounters were filled with awkwardness. They both knew that rekindling their relationship wouldn't be easy, But the pull of their deep connection was undeniable. Their first step towards reconciliation came in form of simple gestures. Frederick would occasionally send Priska thoughtful messages or small gifts, and Priska found herself smiling more often, touched by his efforts. They started meeting up for coffee, gradually easing into more substantial conversation about their lives, hopes, and fears. One sunny Saturday, Frederick invited Priska to an art festival. I think you'll love it, he said. There is this incredible exhibition on abstract art that I've been dying to show you. Priska hesitated for a moment but agreed. I'd like that, she replied. At the festival, they wandered through the various exhibitions, discussing the pieces that caught their eyes. Frederick's passion for art was infectious, and Priska found herself drawn into his world once again. They laughed and shared stories, slowly rediscovering the joy they once brought to each other. After the festival, they sat by the waterfront, watching the boats sail by. I've missed this, Priska admitted. Being with you, talking about art, it just feels right. Frederick reached out to her hands. I've missed it too, Priska, more than you can ever imagine. After that day, their bond began to strengthen. On a very cold Monday morning, Priska's boss at the accounting firm offered her a promotion that requires her to move to Abuja for a year. It was an incredible opportunity, but it also meant leaving Frederick behind, just as they were starting to rebuild their relationship. Priska's mind was in turmoil as she considered the offer. She discussed it with Amaka, who encouraged her to follow her career dreams. You've worked so hard for this, Priska. Don't let anything hold you back, Amaka advised. When Priska told Frederick about it, his initial reaction was one of mixed emotions. I'm so proud of you, Priska. You deserve this and more, he said, though his voice betrayed with worry. Priska sensed the worry and stared deep into his eyes. I'm afraid of losing you again, Priska, he said. We are finally finding our way back to each other, and I don't want distance to ruin this. Priska replied, Frederick, I don't want to lose you either, but this is important for my career. Can we find a way to make it work, long distance or not? Can we? Frederick nodded. We'll make it work, Priska. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that it works. They spent as much time together as possible, creating new memories to sustain them during their time apart. They also made plans for regular visits and nightly video calls, determined to keep their connection strong. On Priska's last night in Lagos, Frederick surprised her with a romantic dinner at her favorite restaurant. As they sat under the twinning fairy lights, Fairy pulled out a small wrapped box. I want to give you something to remember me with, he said. Priska opened the box to find a beautiful silver necklace with a delicate pendant shaped like a tree, a reminiscence of the painting that had brought them together. Tears welled down her eyes as she looked at Frederick and said, You're perfect for me. They spent the rest of the evening reminiscing about their journey, from their first meeting to the challenges they had overcome. As the night drew to a close, they shared a tender kiss, sealing their commitments to each other. The next day, Priska left for Abuja. The separation was different, but their love continued to grow through their frequent calls and messages. Frederick focused on his volunteer work in arts, finding solace in his creations. Priska excelled in her new role, her confidence and her determination shining through. Months passed, and the distance proved to be challenging, but they navigated it with resilience. Frederick visited Priska whenever he could, and she made trips back to Lagos. Each reunion was filled with joy and a deeper understanding of each other's lives and dreams. However, their commitment was tested once again when Frederick passed resurfaced in an unexpected way. One of the teenagers he had been mentoring at the youth center got into a trouble with the law. The media got wind of Frederick's involvement and dredged up his old criminal records, painting him in a negative light. The news reached Priska in Abuja, and she felt the wave of anger and frustration. She called Frederick immediately. Why didn't you tell me about this, Frederick? She asked. I didn't want to bother you, Priska. I thought I could handle it myself, he said. You should have trusted me. We are in this together, remember? Frederick apologized. I'm sorry, Priska. I didn't mean to shut you out on this. I didn't want to bother you. I know how busy you are in Abuja. Priska took a deep breath and said, Frederick, you're my boyfriend and we'll pull this through together. You need to know this and let me in always. With Priska's support, Frederick faced the media's scrutiny head on. He held the press conference, openly discussing his past mistakes and the work he had done to make amends. His honesty and transparency won the public's respect, and the situation eventually calmed down. As Priska's years in Abuja came to an end, she reflected on how much she and Frederick had grown. Their love had been tested time and again, but each challenge had only made them stronger. When Priska returned to Lagos, Frederick was waiting for her at the airport with a bouquet of flowers. As they embraced each other, Priska felt a sense of peace and completeness she hadn't felt in the longest of time. I'm so proud of you, Frederick whispered. You've accomplished so much, and I'm so glad we made it through together. Priska smiled. I couldn't have done it without you, Frederick. We are stronger together. They walked out of the airport hand in hand, knew that their journey was far from over. But with a renewed commitment and the strength of their love, they were ready to face whatever the future holds. Priska's returns brought about significant changes at her job. Her successful stint in Abuja led to her promotion, which meant more responsibilities and longer hours. While she was thrilled with her professional achievements, the demanding schedule began to take a toll on her. Frederick, on the other hand, was experiencing a surge in his art career. His honesty during the press conference had earned him newfound respect in the art community, leading to several lucrative opportunities. He was busier than ever, traveling for exhibitions and working on high-profile projects. Their conflicting schedules made it difficult for them to spend quality time together. Priska often found herself working late into the night, while Frederick was frequent away on business trips. Despite their best effort to stay connected, the physical distance began to create an emotional gap. One evening, Priska returned home exhausted, only to find a note from Frederick saying he had to leave for an urgent meeting with a potential client. She felt the weight of loneliness. She missed their late night conversations, their laughter, and the comfort of his presence. The strain on their relationship became evident when they had their first major argument since reuniting. Frederick had just returned from a week-long trip, and Priska was frustrated with his constant absence. Frederick, we barely see each other anymore, Priska said. It feels like you're always away. Frederick, feeling so exhausted, replied, Priska, I'm doing my best. My career is finally taking off, and these opportunities are important. I thought you understood. Priska was filled with confusion. I do not understand, but I need you to understand. We can't keep drifting apart like this. For the first time, Frederick confronted Priska. You are the one who made me take this offer, Priska, and now you're complaining. Please, I need to sleep. Priska felt bad. She had never expected such a response from Frederick. He would always apologize, but this time around, he found a way to defend himself. She felt like they were really drifting away. She paused, stared at him for a while. Frederick realized that his words hit her heart. As she was about to leave, he pulled her back and apologized. I'm so sorry, Priska. I didn't mean to yell at you. I don't want us to drift apart. I miss you so much. Maybe we need to find a better balance. It's not easy for me as well. They both had a conversation that night, and the night ended beautifully. The next morning, Frederick arranged his schedule to ensure he spent more time at home, while Priska tried to delegate some of her work responsibilities. They planned regular date nights and weekend getaways to reconnect and strengthen their bond. One peaceful evening, as they watched the sun set, Frederick began with a delicate subject. Priska, he said, taking her hands, I've been thinking about us lately, about our future. I want us to build a life together, to face whatever comes our way as a team. Priska's heart skipped a bit. What are you saying, Frederick? Frederick looked into her eyes and said, all I'm saying is that I want to marry you, Priska. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, cherishing you, loving you. I want you to be the mother of my children, Priska. Priska's heart raised. Yes, Frederick, I'll marry you. Frederick was happy. Priska was happy. Everyone was happy. They began planning their future together, supporting each other's dreams and ambition while nurturing their love. However, their commitment was tested once again when Priska's aunt fell seriously ill. Priska, an only child, had been so close to her aunt who raised her after the demise of her parents. The news devastated her. She decided to take time off work to care for her aunt, moving back to her childhood home temporarily. Frederick stood by her side, offering unwavering support. He visited regularly, helping with household chores and providing emotional strength. Despite the physical distance, their bond grew stronger as they faced the challenge together. During this difficult period, Priska's aunt, who had always been a wise and loving presence in her life, offered her valuable advice. Priska, my daughter, since your parents died, I have been the one taking care of you, single-handedly. That man called Frederick is a good man. Love is not about just good times. It's about standing by each other through storm. You and Frederick have something special. Don't ever let go of that. Priska took her aunt's advice wholeheartedly. She realized that their love had withstood numerous tests and emerged stronger each time. Frederick's dedication during her aunt's illness reinforced her belief in their relationship. When her aunt's health began to improve, Priska returned to Lagos, filled with gratitude and a renewed sense of purpose. She and Frederick resumed their life together, more determined than ever to make their relationship work. As they planned their wedding, they reflected on their journey. They had faced countless challenges from Frederick's past to Priska's demanding career, and each obstacle had tested their love. But through it all, they had grown stronger and their bond deepened with every trial. Their wedding day was a celebration of their love and resilience. Surrounded by family and friends, Priska and Frederick exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through all their life's ups and downs. Married life brought a new kind of joy and stability to Priska and Frederick. They cherished their time together, building a home filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. However, like any journey, theirs was not without its trials. Shortly after their honeymoon, Priska faced a significant challenge at work. Her company underwent a major restructuring, leading to a highly competitive environment. Her promotion and recent successes made her a target for colleagues pushing for limited senior positions. Priska found herself working longer hours, often bringing stress home, and despite her effort to balance work and personal life, the pressure began to strain their relationship. Frederick noticed her growing frustration and exhaustion. One evening, Priska came home late, visibly upset. She dropped her bag on the couch and sank into the chair. Frederick, who had been preparing dinner, immediately went to her side. "What's wrong, babe?" he asked. "The competition is fierce, and I feel like I'm constantly under scrutiny. I don't know how much longer I can keep up with this." Frederick took her hands and said, "You're one of the strongest people I know, Priska. You're a fighter, and you always win. I need you to know that I would always be here for you to assist in any way I can." They spent the evening together, brainstorming ways to alleviate Priska's workload and reduce her stress. Frederick encouraged her to delegate tasks and set boundaries at work, emphasizing the importance of self-care. Priska, though hesitant, took his advice. Meanwhile, Frederick's art career continued to flourish. He received an invitation to exhibit his work at a prestigious international gallery. The opportunity was a dream come true, but it required him to spend several months abroad. This prospect of another separation worried both of them. "We've been through long distance before," Frederick said one evening as they discussed. "But this is a big commitment, and I don't want to put more strain on our relationship." Priska looked at him. "This is an incredible opportunity for you, Frederick. I don't want to hold you back. We can make it work, just as we did before." With Priska's support, Frederick accepted the offer and they began preparing for his departure. They planned regular visits and kept their communication open, determined to maintain their connection despite the distance. The months apart were challenging, but their love and dedication kept them grounded. Priska focused on her career, implementing the changes they had discussed. She found a mentor in one of her senior partners, who guided her through the corporate maze, helping her navigate the complexities of her job. Frederick immersed himself in his art, used their separation as inspiration. His painting reflected the emotional journey of their relationship, capturing the essence of love, resilience, and hope. The exhibition was a resounding success, earning him international acclaims. Despite their individual achievements, both Priska and Frederick missed the comforts of each other's presence. They counted down the days until Frederick returns. Finally, the day arrived. Frederick landed in Lagos and Priska waited for him at the airport. As soon as she saw him, she ran and gave him a very big embrace. "I've missed you so much," Priska whispered. Frederick kissed her on her forehead and replied, "I've missed you too, Priska." Their reunion marked the beginning of a new chapter. They celebrated their individual successes and the strength of their love, knowing that love conquered all. However, life happened and Priska's aunt passed away. Priska found solace in Frederick's embrace. He held her as she grieved, reminding her of the love and wisdom her aunt had instilled in her. Through the pain, Priska felt a renewed sense of gratitude for the bond she shared with Frederick. In months that followed, they focused on healing and supporting each other. Priska returned to work with a newfound perspective, dedicating herself to her career while cherishing her personal life. Frederick continued to create art that resonated with their journey, drawing inspirations from their shared experiences. On a very cool evening, Frederick brought up a topic that had been on his mind for a while. "Priska, I've been thinking, maybe it's time we start planning for a family." Priska looked at him. "I thought about that too, Frederick. But with our busy lives, you think we're ready for that right now?" Frederick replied, "We have faced so much together and come out stronger every time. I believe we can handle this too. Besides, there's never a perfect time. We'll make it work, just as we've always done." Priska smiled. "Let's do it then." After days and weeks of unprotected intercourse, Priska finally became pregnant. Their joy knew no bounds. They shared the news with their loved ones, who rejoiced with them and offered them unwavering support. However, pregnancy brought its own set of challenges. Priska experienced morning sickness and fatigue, which made it difficult to keep up with her demanding job. Frederick, the ever-supportive partner, stepped up to help her through the tough days. He cooked her favorite meals, attended doctor's appointments with her, and ensured she had everything she needed. Months passed, and Frederick was adapting to the new life he had found himself in. As Priska's due date approached, they took time to reflect on the journey and how parenthood would look on them. They were excited to have their first child together. The day their baby was born was a moment of profound joy and fulfillment. Priska held her newborn daughter in her arms. Tears of happiness streamed down her face. Frederick stood by her side. His eyes were filled with wonder and pride. "She's perfect," Priska said. "Our miracle." Frederick kissed Priska's forehead, his heart flowing with love. "She's our new beginning, Priska, our new dawn. We will name her Amaya because she symbolizes the serenity and the beauty that descended upon us during our journey together," Frederick said. "Just as the night rain brings a sense of peace and renewal, so does our love," Priska added. They both smiled and kissed baby Amaya, knowing that their daughter's name would forever reflect the deep love and tranquility they shared throughout their lives. Thank you so very much, guys, for watching. Hope you liked the story. Please do also like this video, share, and subscribe to Substance TV for more and more amazing stories. See you guys in my next video. Until then, stay splendid.